For years, we've been doing both targeting and measurement, the two sides of the media equation, up front and at the end. That data, which comes from 90 million shopper cards, so the frequent shopper card data that you use in supermarkets and other stores, that's the source of our data. And that is used by CPG manufacturers to either plan their media or target if it's digital, and then measure the efficacy of the end. Did it drive sales? In the addressable world, we do the same thing. We've been doing it digital for years. We're in addressable, and we can do it in linear. It's just the mechanics of doing it differ as to where it goes. So we've had to establish relationships with basically all or the main MVPDs in order to know who their universe is, and we apply our data on top of that. Again, for both targeting or measurement.
And what's the sort of unique value of the offering?
Well, I think the unique value of the offering comes in the sense that in this day and age, everyone wants what I like to loosely call hard data. It's not necessarily intent-based, it's actual people or homes who went out and bought a product. And we've done a lot of evangelizing over the years to marketers, the CPG manufacturers, as to the value of this data. You know, if you really want to move, I always use peanut butter, you want to use Skippy, let's say, you may want to talk to Skippy buyers. It could be competitive buyers as well, but the idea that it's the people who are buying the product are the ones you want to target, not necessarily an age, gender, or a loose demographic. And so many advertisers have come to believe in that, and they've trusted our data, and they're taking our data onto new platforms. So we really didn't have a luxury of saying, well, we're not ready for addressable TV. When a big advertiser comes and says, I want to use the data that I've been using digital, but I'm going over to name the MVPD, we had to find a way to do it. So we did.
So Tom, not to get too deep in the weeds of ad ops, but how does it work? You know, sort of, what's the planning? Because we understand it's quite arduous, isn't it? Or
well, I think once you figure out the process, you get to replicate it. The beauty is we have shopper card data, so we actually have names and addresses, and every MVPD has a name and address on a set-top box. That's very simple to go over and find your friends over in Experian, who we use, or a neutral third party that protects the PII that everyone's worried about. We don't touch PII, but we have a service, and we use Experian that combines that MVPD's set-top box universe to our shopper card universe. And then we have what we would like to call a panel. At that point, they tell us a product they want to market to, we tell them the homes where those people live, and serve the ad. That's the best way to describe it.
so, what is the value of household addressable versus, you know, audience targeting? Let's say, getting groups, and how do you guys play along that sort of range of activations?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we do audience buying. We're not doing it at the individual level because what we've seen in our type of data is that the cards are at a household level. You know, you may have one, your wife may have one, other family members may have something. So we aggregate it into the household for our purposes. There are other data sets that I'm sure are much more important at an individual level, but for our needs, we haven't had to go there. So I would say we are in the audience-based industry of audience-based buying and measurement.
Cool, and where do you think things go? We hear a lot about the changes in habits and linear and so on, and you know, the whole notion of audience-driven or individual-driven selection and disintermediation of the linear TV as we know it. Where do you think this whole addressable thing will go over the next 3 years?
I view the term addressable as almost specific to cable TV, or maybe the virtual MVPDs as well, like the Slings of the world, whoever it might be. I differentiate that because I feel that you can go one-to-one advertising very easily in digital. Cookies, we've been doing that for years. I term addressable because you can actually address it to the household, and I find that unique to the cable frames. I know terminology changes for people in the industry. And then you move to the linear side. The new term that you hear a lot is data-driven linear. Not just buying programs on age and gender, but which one of, in our case we use the Nielsen panel, the currency panel, which ones of the panelists buy that Skippy peanut butter? And then I'm going to look at all the ones that do that and then apply it to my inventory if I'm a network and say, if I was doing age and gender, I might have given you this group of shows. But now that I see you want Skippy peanut butter buyers, it's this group of shows. It does change how a plan can be built by the networks or how it's planned by the advertiser. They have access to data too.
So, Tom, and just finally, how is this sort of the expectation of the buy-side change? What do they want out of their relationship with you, with your group, for example, or more broadly, what do you see as sort of industry demands on the buy-side?
I think that, I'll tell a little story that years ago when I got into the digital side of the business, the digital networks and websites were saying, we got to go get TV dollars. Last couple of years, you hear the TV networks saying, I got to go get Google and Facebook dollars. And advertisers are used to now spending a large percent of their media in what they would call as, directly targetable or addressable, if you want to use that term, media. And they spend a lot of money on TV, still a lot of money. And they're saying, well, if I can do this in digital, why can't you give me something comparable? And I think that's what the MVPDs realized they could do, because they could target a household. And I think now the broadcast linear networks are saying we have to come up with a solution that allows the marketers to have a more precise delivery of a campaign. I don't like to say targeting in linear because there's always going to be some waste. But it's meeting the need that the advertisers want to be more efficient in the way they plan and buy their media.